Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and I'm taking care of business. Joining me today is Mike Holden, Vice President of Policy and Chief Economist for the Business Council of Alberta. Thanks, Mike, for joining us again today.
Thanks for having me.
Interesting report the council put out today on the long-term unemployment in Alberta. First of all, tell me a little bit about where we stand as a province in this area right now.
Well, this is a challenge that we identified about a year or so ago when we started creating this task force, and it really stems back to the oil price crash in late 2014, early 2015. And so about a year after that, we saw Alberta's always been a hot job market, and we went from having one of the lowest unemployment rates to one that was above average, and that was really true of these long-term unemployed. So that's people who've been without a job for at least a year. And that rate went from about half the national average to well above, and has remained that way for the last 5 or 6 years. And then when COVID hit, it got even worse, to the point where Alberta has the highest rate of long-term unemployment of any province in Canada.
When you look at that, maybe talk a little bit about the task force that was created. Why was it created, and why did you guys feel this was an important part of the economic well-being, I guess, of the province?
Sure. Well, I mean, the mandate of the Business Council of Alberta really is about creating shared prosperity for all Albertans. And so when you have the highest long-term unemployment rate in the country, and you have on average last year, there were 50,000 Albertans who were without a job and wanted one for a year, that's not shared prosperity. And so that was the main motivation here. So we had this large cohort of Albertans in a changing and shifting labor market who are unable to find work. And added to that, there are businesses who are unable to find people with the skills that they need in order to employ them. So we have this mismatch of skills in a changing work environment. And so that was the main motivation for doing this. It was about really trying to find a way to bring these displaced Albertans back into the workforce, give them the skills that they need, and help businesses better identify the skills that they need to be able to bring the two groups together and give Albertans a chance to get back to work.
Is there a concern here, a danger here, I guess, that the longer a person is unemployed in, say, Alberta, the more likely that person may pull up stakes and move to another province?
Yeah, that is absolutely a concern, and I think that even if they were to do that, there are economic and social costs to this challenge. The economic costs are pretty obvious, and you're not just losing income if you don't have a job, but you're on a permanently lower income track as you go forward. Plus, the longer you're out of work, the more your skills atrophy. There are a lot of studies that show that there are mental health challenges that come with not having work for an extended period of time. And the longer that goes on, the more it creates its own vicious cycle. If you have large gaps on your resume, your mental health is struggling, that will make it harder for you to find a job, not easier. And so this is kind of breaking that vicious cycle is I think, a really important step, because there are significant economic and social costs to not fixing this problem.
Yeah, exactly. So did the report come out with any recommendations of how we tackle and deal with this issue?
Yeah, we have a whole series of recommendations for governments, for businesses themselves, and for post-secondary institutions in a range of areas. We look at some of the foundational skills, foundational issues that need to be addressed, things like ensuring that Albertans have mental health supports, building competency frameworks so that people are able to identify the skills that they have, not just the degrees and certificates that they've got. And employers are able to identify the skills that they need, not just relying on the certificates and degrees that they think demonstrate those skills. And so we have those foundational elements that we're looking for. And then we make some recommendations about specific government programs. Broadly speaking, we're suggesting that governments should reduce the very large number of programs they have and concentrate their funds and increase their funds potentially on a smaller number of programs. Make them more accessible, make them easier for businesses to find, make them easier for employees and Albertans to find, and then make some specific changes to those programs to better target the long-term unemployed.
Okay, one last thing, I wanted to go back to the number of people that are long-term unemployed. Did you guys look at anything regarding demographics of that? Like, is it women, men? Is it a certain age group? Is it certain industry that are predominant?
Yeah, we did. The numbers on that are fairly limited. There's a sense that the biggest challenge tends to be with older workers. So those over 55 and also younger, those under the age of 25. And so those are two very different cohorts at very different stages in their careers. And so, the kinds of solutions that will work for younger workers don't necessarily work for older workers. And so those are the two main cohorts that we saw. There was not a significant difference between men and women during this time, but the other, as a bit of a cautionary tale, I mean, we did undertake this study during COVID, and all the jobs numbers, as you and I have talked about before, they tend to fluctuate around all over the place, and it's hard to get your pulse on a long-term trend with some of these issues.
Okay, super. Thanks, Mike, for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, that was Mike Holden, Vice President of Policy and Chief Economist with the Business Council of Alberta. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. This has been Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.